Welcome to Unseen to Unstoppable, the podcast where we spotlight the voices that are reshaping their industries, communities, and lives with courage and authenticity. Today's guest is Nakia Burrise, best known for her iconic role as Tanya Sloan, the Yellow Zeo Ranger, and later the first Yellow Turbo Ranger in Power Rangers Zeo and Power Rangers Turbo from 1996 to 1997. Her talent, charisma, and dedication to storytelling have made her a beloved figure in the entertainment industry, especially among the Power Rangers franchise. Nakia, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
It's such an honor to have you here today, and thank you for making time in your busy schedule to be here. I really appreciate that.
I'm honored to be here. No worries at all.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So I was looking at your bio, and you have had a really incredible journey from being a student at UCLA to Power Ranger to producer, director. What initially drew you to getting into acting and performing?
I had been performing since I was little. I remember watching the Carol Burnett show and the Jeffersons and performing, forcing my parents to sit in our living room while I performed sketches and having my brother be be my other actor on the side. It was funny. I just always enjoyed entertaining and making people laugh. I come from a family of just entertainers in a sense, not known entertainers, but just people that enjoy laughing and having fun and just being creative. So yeah, it's just been innately in my genes since I was little.
And so I also saw something that I didn't realize when I was researching that you were into athletics.
Yeah, I used to play baseball. And it's funny when I say baseball, people are like, "You mean softball?" I said, "No, I mean baseball." I used to play baseball with the boys um, for several years until I got to high school where they wouldn't allow girls to play on the baseball team. Then I had to play softball. I also ran track and did volleyball. So, yes, I was really, really into athletics all the way through high school.
So that's why I mentioned it because you just seem like one of these, I don't know if the correct term is eclectic, but like you just have like these varied interests. So like just from wanting to entertain to sports, um, nonprofit, we'll talk about that in a little bit, but you seem to be have like a very varied interest.
Yeah, I've always been a busybody ever since I was little. I was involved in sports, school clubs. I ran for various offices. I was the class president. I was a student body president in high school. Yeah, I was always, always busy. And I've carried that on to my adulthood as well, where sometimes I feel like God is like, okay, Nakia, you need to slow down, pause, and just reflect for a second. But yeah, that's just been me ever since I was little, just wanting to be involved in everything possible and create and everything that goes along with that.
Do you find it difficult to slow down, to tell yourself to slow down?
I do. I do. Not to get completely off topic, but sometimes God will force you to slow down when you are not willing to do it on your own. And I found that in 2007 when I was diagnosed with a lung disease. And I was forced to sit down. I had no energy. Um, when I was diagnosed, it was between two because the doctors didn't quite know what I had. It was either their two possibilities was lymphoma or sarcoidosis. And I was not familiar with sarcoidosis, but that's what the doctors were hoping that it would be because, obviously lymphoma is cancer. And when they saw the lymph nodes that were swollen in my body, they thought that if I had lymphoma, I would be in stage 4. So praise God, it was sarcoid and it was only stage 2. So I went into remission within a year afterward. But God really slowed me down. Like I was forced to sit down and not do anything for a period of time until I could get my health back.
How long did that take? You said it started initially in 2007.
So I remember I was performing a play, and I had gone down I was singing this song, and I remember in the song, I ended up getting on my knees to sing. It was The Passion of the Christ, that was the name of the play, and I was playing Mary Magdalene. And I was on the ground. I remember I was performing, and one night I was like, "Oh my gosh," I was trying to stand back up, and my knees hurt so bad. And so I had swelling in my ankles. Then the swelling moved up to my knees. Then the swelling moved to my chest, where I had this cough for like 2.5 months. And I remember going to various doctors, and a doctor told me that it was normal to have a cough for 2.5 months. And I was like, is it really? And
No.
he like, no, I so. And the interesting thing that got me to the hospital was I was on vacation with my boys. My boys at the time were only like I think 4 and 7, and we were in New Jersey on vacation. And I'd gotten a call from my agent that this pilot that I had filmed called Samantha Who with Christina Applegate and Melissa McCarthy, we needed to do a reshoot. And I played her doctor. And I had this cough. And so my voice was really raspy. And I was in this industry, you could be fired at the drop of a dime for not sounding the same, for not looking the same, and so forth. So I was concerned about that. And so when I was on vacation, I was like, well, when I come back, I'm going to go straight into filming. So I want to make sure that this cough goes away. And that is the only reason why I went to the hospital when I was in New Jersey. I remember going to the emergency. My mother-in-law went with me, and I said, I was in the doctor room, and I told him, what was going on. I was like, I had this cough. I think maybe I just need a breathing treatment or something like that. And he was like, okay. And right before he walked out that door, I felt God tell me, literally tell me, you need to tell him everything that's been going on. So I stopped him right before he went through the threshold. And I was like, I'm sorry, doctor. I feel like I need to tell you everything that's been going on. So I told him about the swelling in my ankles, to my knees, to my chest. And he was like, no, thank you. Thank you for telling me. Because, in your body, everything plays a role. And he said, let's do a chest x ray and just see what's going on. And he did a chest x ray. And I remember him putting the chest x ray up to me, right on the side where I was able to see. And it looked like I had a tree with branches and leaves in my chest. All of the lymph nodes in my chest were swollen, and it was pushing at the,
Wow.
yes. And so he said, as soon as you get back into Los Angeles, you need to see a pulmonologist. And he said, what it looks like is, it could be lymphoma or sarcoidosis. And at the time, I was such in shock that lymphoma didn't even register to me at the time. And I definitely didn't know what sarcoidosis was. I looked at my mother in law and I was like, huh? In a sense, when you're just sitting there in shock, like something could be wrong with you. And,
Right.
and I was like, Ma, I don't remember what lymphoma is. Like, I can't even think right now. And she was like, it's cancer. And I was just sitting there like, oh my gosh. Um, and so when I got back into town, I tried to get a doctor's appointment, could not get a doctor's appointment for, I think it was like a month away. And I was trying to tell them, I was like, I may possibly have lymphoma. I need to go see a doctor. And so I couldn't get a doctor's appointment right away. And I remember I was sitting on the ground getting my kids ready for church, and I just could not breathe. I was having a difficult time breathing. My husband rushed me to the emergency. They kept me, did a biopsy, and found out that I had sarcoidosis, and that it was treatable. And I was so blessed in hearing that it was something that could be treated. I found myself going from no prescriptions to having 10 different pills that I have to take, and one is offsetting the other one. And and one of the big ones that I had was a steroid. And if you know anything about steroids, they can make you gain a lot of weight.
Well,
And
that's
so
what I was getting ready to say. The weight gain, the weight gain, and it's not for some reason, and not to be vain here, but for some reason, it's not ordinary weight. It's the kind of weight that makes you look swollen.
yes, yes, I say it when I look back at pictures. I say it looks like I ate myself because
I'm telling you, I'm a country girl, so I say things like a fat tick. You know those fat ticks that be on the dogs and stuff like that? I've seen pictures of myself. I'm like, oh my God, I look like a fat tick.
so you've experienced that too.
Yes, yes, yes. You and I, we talked a little bit about that. I could not remember all what you said you had because I'm also TBI, traumatic brain injury survivor. So and the stress I was telling you before about with my mom and things like that. So my brain has not been functioning, and but yes, we did talk a little bit about that, but I just could not remember what you said you had. I remember it's reference to Bernie Mac. I remember that much.
Yes, because Bernie Mac, that's he had I we had the same doctor for a period, and then soon after he ended up passing away from complications with sarcoid and pneumonia. Well, that's what I read in the trades. But yes, it was a scary time in my life, and at that time, I had taken myself out of acting because I felt well, I didn't feel like myself. I didn't look like myself. And I was like, okay, well, obviously I need to move on. This is not what God would have for me. Um, and so I try to get back into teaching because when I left Power Rangers, I started substitute teaching to supplement my income. And God had literally closed that door. During that time in my life, I could go into any school. The principals loved me. They were offering me job after job after job, teaching position when I just was like, no, 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 I'm going to continue to act. But then when I decided to give up acting and to teach, God was like, nope. And then I went into remission and got back into acting. God had opened up doors for me again. But yeah, I brought that up to say that sometimes God will stop you and make you take a break when you least expect it, because that was a time when I was just going, 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 and not even looking back. And so I often, even now, I'm reminding myself that it is important to make sure that I take a break, even if it's just once a week, you know, just sit and rest my mind, rejuvenate for the next day. It's very important.
Do you put that on your schedule? I mean, now I'm speaking from myself. I'm old school. I have a calendar. So maybe you don't do it that way, but do you write it in on your schedule? Your me time, your rest time?
I don't. I just what I do is I try to take Sundays as a rest day. And
Okay.
that's what I try to do. Doesn't always work out that way, but that is my goal to sit there and in my pajamas all day, watch television, rest, do what I want to do on that day.
And what are we watching on TV?
Oh my. So it's funny in this day and age on these various platforms you can, basically watch an entire series in a day. And so I have done that. My husband and I have done that. We like reality television. We like suspense shows. Right now we're watching The Better Sister, 90 Day Fiance, BMF. Like, yeah, genres are just all over the place, basically. But
Okay. 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 Listen, I was taking some notes here, listening to you tell your story, which thank you for sharing that because you never know. I love doing these interviews because you never know what we might say that might help someone. So thank you for sharing that. And also I'm so glad that you're a lot better. Um Singing. I was like, is it I just said in the intro, is there anything that you don't do? You mentioned something about singing for in a play or something like that. So you sing too.
I do sing. When I was on Power Rangers, I was actually in a group and we had a production deal. So we recorded a 10-song album. And I remember, and I tell this to people now, I'm like, watch what you pray for because God really listens, especially if you're his child. Because I had everything at that point in my life. I had everything that I had prayed for. I had a recording deal, I had a television series, and I was filming a movie. At that time, I was filming the Power Rangers Turbo movie. And I remember sitting in my dressing room and I was so exhausted, so tired because I would film all day for 12 hours, and then I would drive an hour and a half away to go record my album. And I was doing that consistently for weeks, and I was so drained. And I remember praying to God. I was like, God, can I just have some rest? I will never pray that prayer again. I tell people now,
But
I
look, also never say never. Shoot.
well, I've learned that instead of saying, can I have rest? What I should have asked God was, show me how to balance all of this.
Yes, yes.
Know? Because he gifted me with what I asked for, and then I get it, and I'm like, I should have just said, Lord, show me how to balance this. Show me how
Right. Right.
to figure out how to handle everything that you've just blessed me with. This is what I asked for, and now I'm asking for rest. What is wrong with me? So yeah, just want to do
So
things a
now
little bit
I
differently.
don't want my son to disown me, so I have to get back to the Power Rangers, okay? Because if we don't talk about the Power Rangers, I'm going to hear about it. So when you stepped into that iconic role, what prepared you for that? How did that impact your life and career at that time?
Wow, I was a junior at UCLA at the time in the School of Theater, Film, and Television, and I was so excited to have a job before I graduated. When you graduate college, you just because you've studied that major doesn't mean that you necessarily go straight into that job. I was very fortunate to start working before I graduated. So when I auditioned for Power Rangers, honestly, I did not know what Power Rangers was. I had no idea. I just knew it was a job opportunity. I was excited to be a series regular. I learned about it after being on the show, and I learned its popularity after being on the show. I didn't, and I'm glad that I did. I'm glad that I didn't know it beforehand because I think it would have added extra nerves that were not invited. So once I was on the show, I learned a little bit more, but just, from my experience in acting and doing musical theater and other shows and small little like music videos and independent films, I feel like that helped prepare me for Power Rangers. And then I learned so much being on the show. Our DP, director of cinematography, um, he was an Israeli man who was he had a beautiful accent, and he just taught us so much because most of us coming onto the show, this was our first series. He would tell us the right camera angles, how to stand, how to hit our mark, where to look camera right, where to look camera left. That's where I learned basically the foundations of filming, of being on a television show. It set me up for all of the other shows that I would do after Power Rangers. So I am very, very grateful for Power Rangers, not only for being on the show, but even 30 years later, I am able to basically explore the world signing autographs for Power Rangers. I
Right.
get to do comic conventions all over because of that show. Doesn't matter what I've done after that, it always comes back to Power Rangers.
And you've transitioned from, acting to producing and directing, and the co-founder of Power Rangers Playback. So, how, what does all that look like too?
So I learned in 2015, I decided that I wanted to write a role for myself and do something that I know that I'm good at and that I love doing. And so I wrote a web series called Class Dismissed, and I produced it and casted it. Basically, was just doing a lot, and I was doing that at the time with my friend Thomas Lazar, who was also a co-writer of mine. And I just learned that I loved behind the scenes. I loved the producing part. I loved the writing part. I loved all of that, and I loved that I didn't have to learn lines. I was like, oh, I could just sit back and produce this. And I've gone on. I just finished another project of a friend that was on Class Dismissed. She played my principal, Sonia Shepard, who asked me if I would co-produce her independent short, and it's a drama. And I was like, oh my gosh, I would love to. So I've just learned to love the producing and the little bit of directing that I've done with Power Rangers playback, but mainly producing and writing the shows that I have, and my feature film Back to Bridgewood as well, that's streaming on every platform except Netflix. It's such a departure from acting and being in front of the camera. Um, it brings a lot of joy to me. So I love both parts.
Both acting and producing.
Yes, yes.
So what, I don't know. I don't know anything about the film industry. What or TV. What does that look like? Producing. What is some things you would be doing, and how do, what kind of role is that? Explain that to me a little bit.
So there's different type of producers. For me, I was executive producer as well as producer. So for Back to Bridgewood, my feature film,
Yes, we
that
do need to talk about that. So yes, okay.
I co-wrote a feature film called Back to Bridgewood. It was loosely based on my life in substitute teaching, and it segued from my web series Class Dismissed to Back to Bridgewood. A lot of the same characters that were in Class Dismissed were also in Back to Bridgewood. Um, and I co-wrote it, I funded it, and produced it. So in producing, what I did was I had to get the talent, the casting, make sure that I had all the paperwork. Like I was pretty much handling everything. Normally on a production, you have a different producers. You have a line producer that oversees the budgeting. You have a producer that takes care of locations, which would be kind of like the locations producer. Um, or what is the other one? MP. I can't even think of the abbreviation PM MPM. I can't think. Anyways, so there's different type of producers. I was basically, because of my budget, I was taking it all on. So I was doing the casting. I got a casting director to help me with the casting. I funded it. I looked for the talent through the casting, made sure that we had the locations, had to pay for the locations, had to get the certificates, had to get the director, had to get the production crew together. That's basically everything for a production. You have to have a great producer. I mean, a producer that can handle all of that to make sure that you have a great cinematographer, a great grip, people for lighting, a great director, or else your production can just, tank pretty much.
Right. But you were able to handle all those roles that you're telling me that most productions have a person to do all those things, but you were able to do them all yourself.
Yes, ma'am. And I
She
don't
said,
like
"Yes, ma'am." Oh, overachiever.
I don't if I would have had a little bit more money to pay for other people, because this was money out of my own pocket, and so I didn't have a choice really, but I also enjoyed it. I can't say
Mhm.
that truly overwhelming. I brought on an assistant director that helped me with making sure that the call sheets were in line and sent out, and so I had someone under me that I did hire to help with things that may have fallen through the cracks elsewise. So yeah, it was. I don't take it back at all. I
Mhm.
enjoyed it. I would do it again. It was a really great time, and I look forward to more productions with higher budgets. I mean, that production was about $150,000,
Mhm.
and with a bigger budget, I could hire more people to take on
Right.
more, which is what my goal is eventually.
Right. Well, we set goals for ourselves. You've set the bar, and I have no doubt that you'll do it again. So just make sure you let me know. In fact, if you need somebody to volunteer, just have me fly out to LA. I'll do it.
Yeah.
I wanted to get, just I don't know, my interest. I've always wanted to see how all that works, and basically it seems like a lot of stuff you named, it's somebody that's can manage and be organized
Right.
is what
Yeah,
it seems.
you definitely need organizational skills,
Right.
and it helps to have some experience. But we everybody has to learn at some point. You know,
Right.
I
Right.
didn't know what I was doing, and when I, got in with the wolves, I just had to figure it out and ask
Right.
questions along the way.
So, where can we go and watch Back to Bridgewood?
So Back to Bridgewood is on Amazon, Apple, Fandango, In Demand, Tubi, Vudu, basically every platform except Netflix.
Okay. So, my husband and I have date night. We're gonna look for this on Amazon.
Please, please
What?
do.
And now you said it's loosely based on you and your substitute teaching experience. Is that what I heard you say?
Yes. So after Power Rangers, I did not have a series that I, obviously went to become. I would have loved to have been able to come off of Power Rangers, go to another series and be a series regular. That was not my reality. So I needed to work. I had a family. I started substitute teaching. It was a good thing that I stayed in school. I stayed in college. And because I had a BA, I was able to go to Los Angeles School District and applied to be a substitute teacher. And so I substitute taught for 15 years in between acting gigs.
Mm-hmm.
And during that experience, I learned a lot about the school system, about the kids, and I used that to propel me to write Class Dismissed, which eventually became Back to Bridgewood. And so my character, Liz Johnson, in Back to Bridgewood is loosely based on my experience of being a teacher as well as acting. She becomes a little full of herself, so that is not me. But for drama purposes, we need to incorporate that in the script.
We might have to bring your husband and your kids on to verify that.
Yes, yeah, we'll verify it for sure.
So look, I'm so glad that you are talking the way you are, because that was going to be one of my questions. I asked this of everyone anyway, but because women in business, you're an actress, a well-known actress, but still it doesn't matter. We people just see us and it just looks glamorous. And when I say us, not me included, I'm just women who are out there doing things, and it looks glamorous, and they don't see or hear about the other stuff. It's real what you're saying about substitute teaching. It's real what you're saying about being sick. Um, and things like that. And so I wanted to, before we wrap up, I mean, we've got a few more minutes, whatever, but I just wanted to make sure that we talked about that. But I didn't have to with you because the person that you are, it already came out, because I wanted to talk about you being a mother and a wife and what does that look like, and everything. And you've already tapped on, having to, go to work. People may not understand that if there's no money coming in, you've got to go get money. So I also wanted to, if you want to talk about that too, being a wife and a mother and juggling all that.
Yeah, the reality is actors are people, and we have the same struggles in life, whether it be health, whether it be family, whether it be whatever. And you have to make the decision on, are you going to live? Are you going to stand on your pride? Are you going to humble yourself and go out and do what you have to do? And
Right.
that's what I needed to do. I have two boys, I have a husband. Um, we needed medical insurance. I needed medical insurance, obviously. Um, and substitute teaching, as long as I worked, I would make sure that I would calculate enough days in the week where I would hit 100 days, because I needed to hit 100 days in order to meet medical benefits. So that's what I made sure that I did each year. And once I hit those 100 days, I was like, oh, I don't have to worry about substituting anymore for this year, this school year. So I would plan out making sure that I hit 100 days so that I had medical benefits. Um, that was my primary goal for substitute teaching, because my husband was also working, but also it helped to supplement our income. And we have a set company now that has been really great. We've had it for over 20 years, but it didn't provide medical benefits. So I needed to make sure that my family had medical benefits, and I still do that today through my acting. Make sure that we have medical benefits. But I remember going into the classrooms, and kids would recognize me, and it was very humbling to go from a television show to now being a teacher, and kids recognizing you and asking questions like, wow, you were just on television, feeling like a little bit less than. So it was quite a humble piece of pie that I would eat daily because of it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's something that I had to do. There
Right.
was a question, so I did what I had to do. Amen.
But you're also a very giving person, because in the beginning I mentioned your work with nonprofits. Are there any ones in particular that I'm trying to think of the word I want to use, that you support on a regular basis, or you look for different causes that are true to your heart? How does that work for you when you get ready to do your giving back?
There are certain organizations that I partnered with, that I'm an ambassador for, which is Our Rescue. I also monthly give to St. Jude's Children's Hospital, World Vision. Sponsor a couple of children there. LA Food Bank out here. These causes, I every day I see missing children, every day, and it hurts my heart. And I know some of them are going to trafficking. Some of them have been taken and are being trafficked. And so Our Rescue is a cause that really goes in and searches for these kids and brings them home and gives them the support that they need. Um, LA Food Bank helps those that are hungry and starving in Los Angeles. World Vision, I support and sponsor children that are in Africa and third world countries. Can I just speak, Nakia? Third world countries, as well as helping with getting wells dug, because there's obviously a lack of water and other, food supplies and so forth. So these are things that, God said, if I'm going to bless you, you need to be a blessing to others. And that's what I strive to do, because I would never want him to take away what he's so graciously given me. So I want to make sure that I give back through the blessings that he's given me. And so that's what I try to do.
And that's a blessing. So many people don't have that type of gratitude and graciousness that we get everything from God, and in turn, that's what He wants us to do. He wants us to give back what He gives to us. So thank you for doing that. This rescue one, no, St. Jude's. My dad would that was his organization. He would give to them. Um, the rescue one, though, oh my goodness, I every time I go places and I see signs like that, I don't know, for whatever reason, I can't deal with it. I can't deal with the fact that that's going on. I've got to find some kind of way to be able to mentally, I don't want to say accept, that's not the right word. Maybe help me out with the words here, Nakia, but you know what I mean? Like I just can't deal with that's happening.
That it exists. It's very scary. It's heart wrenching. I have a podcast called Super Chat, and we haven't recorded anything new. We did two um, two seasons. In our second season, had we had people from Our Rescue, victims that were a part of trafficking, and just hearing some of their stories. Some of them were trafficked from the age of 2, and some from their own family members. And it's just heart wrenching to think that someone would be so selfish to to put someone else's life in jeopardy so that they can get paid. I just think it's disgusting. And it hurts my heart. So I'm very grateful for Our Rescue and other organizations that are in the trenches, are going out, seeking these children and seeking these people that have taken these children and adults into these unbearable and unbelievable situations. Um, and I just pray that justice is served throughout. But yeah, it's deplorable.
It is, and thank you for being the type of person that can handle that and do that. I remember having a student. I mentor college students, and where was she? It was during the pandemic because I had students from all over the US. I don't know why, but the corporations were turning away students because it was the pandemic. I'm like, you haven't heard of Zoom? But anyway, so I think this particular girl thinks she was in Idaho or Iowa, one of those places. But anyhow, and she was telling me about, what goes on there, and her involvement. And there was this girl, I don't know if she was in her class or whatever, because when I would hear of it up until that point, I thought something else. And she was telling me how they will put a man or guy, whatever, in your pathway. He targets you and he grooms you, and he's supposed to be your boyfriend. That's the approach. And then next thing, and because I'm thinking people are somewhere else or whatever, but like you said, families, whatever. So this girl is getting up every day, going to college, whatever, but she has this boyfriend. I'm doing my air quotes here, this boyfriend. And then of course something happens where he needs you to do this favor, or something's going to happen to him, some story. And I thought, oh my God, I cannot believe this is going on.
Yeah. Yeah. It's scary times. It really is. Just have to be on lookout. It doesn't matter. It's come to gas stations where they're putting things on paper to make you pass out and feel disoriented. I just see all of these really scary things that are happening. So you just have to be on the lookout and guard your children, guard your minds, guard your hearts, and protect your families and friends.
Wow. That's just crazy. I've been sitting here trying to think of the actress's name, but I can't. But anyhow, because the next question leads into that. I remember her giving a speech. She does a lot of Tyler Perry movies, and she was thanking him for introducing her to how things should be and getting paid what she's supposed to be getting paid. And so one of the questions I wanted to ask you is just, as a woman of color in Hollywood with decades of experience, how have you seen the industry shift when it comes to representation and opportunities?
I think it's going on a better path. I'm seeing a lot of I Shonda Rhimes has brought so many diverse shows, which I've really really appreciated. Tyler Perry, I'm seeing a lot more people of color, not just African American people, but Indian and Asian, and that's what I wanted as well, and that's what I would like to do in my productions, because the world is an oyster and we're just a melting pot of diverse cultures, and everyone needs to see someone on television that looks like them. That's
Exactly.
right.
Exactly. That's it right there.
you
Yes.
know and so I hope to be able to bring that to pass as well in the shows and the movies and stuff that God will allow me to produce and to bring to fruition. It's important, it's necessary.
And so, lastly, as we wrap up, I ask this question of everyone because I'm a big quote person. Do you have a favorite quote or mantra or motto that you say to yourself every day, or that you live by, that keeps you going?
Yes, I do. One of them is from the Bible, Mark 9:23. All things are possible through those who believe. And, you know, I stand by that even in my times of questioning, okay, God, is this really going to happen? Is this, and it's because I'm a Christian, I believe that God can do the extraordinary beyond. Um, and sometimes I put him in this little box and I'm like, okay, this is not going to happen. Like this can't happen. But I believe that all things are possible. If it's God's will, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. And it may be a miracle to make it happen, but if it's his will, it's going to happen. Period.
Amen. So, I saw you on Facebook. Is that the best place for your fans to connect with you, or is there another avenue that's the better place for them to connect with you?
Instagram, because my personal Facebook was actually hacked about 2.5 months ago.
Don't you
And
hate that? I are you
with
did you get the whole login? Like somebody's trying to log in. I'm getting that now. Somebody's trying to log into your account. Like, don't you have anything better to do?
yes, they completely took my account. I have no access to my original Facebook. So my fan page is still there, but I
Okay.
have no access to that. So Instagram is the best place. It's Nakia
Okay.
Burrise.
And is it
Yeah,
just your name or is there a period, hyphen? How is it on Instagram?
my name. It's just my name, Nakia Burrise. And then I also have my Power Rangers Playback YouTube channel, where you can check out some of our content on there. And yeah.
So what's next for Miss Nakia Burris? There's so I don't know. Is there can we top it?
Yes, I'm writing right now. I'm currently writing a comic book series that I would love to make into a television series called The Never Never Kids. And to
Nice.
hear a little bit more about that, there is a website called theneverneverkids.com. And then you can also check my site, Nakia Burrise, because I post different signings that I have and where I'll be traveling, and any upcoming projects on there as well. And my other business site is sovereignty entertainment.com, and I post some of my productions on there as well.
Any upcoming travel dates? This is what is this? This is August 2025. Any upcoming travel dates we need to mention?
Yes, I just finished San Jose Comic Convention. I will be in Iowa at GalaxyCon Des Moines, Iowa, September 12th through the 14th. And then I will be in Atlanta at a con called Joe Lanta, where I'll be hosting the Barbie doll swap and also signing there. That will be September 26th and 27th. And then I'll be in Greensboro, North Carolina for Big Lick Comics, Big Lick Comic Con. Sorry, not comics, Big Lick Comic Con, October 4th and 5th.
I'm writing that part down because out of what you've named, that's probably the closest to me. So Greensboro,
Greens,
North Carolina, October 4th and 5th.
yes.
Perfect. 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 Thank you so much again for coming on. This has been amazing.
Thank you for having me. Truly.
I hope we can, maybe do this again and maybe talk about the things that parents and I guess grown-ups too need to be aware of to be safe. I didn't realize I'm so green. I didn't realize there's things out there like you mentioned about the toilet paper or whatever. I didn't that kind of struck me. So maybe we'll do another interview about your nonprofit work and see if we can help people from that angle as well.
That would be perfect. That
Yeah.
sounds really great.
So thank you so much. Thank you to everyone out there listening. This has been amazing. If today's conversation moved you, inspired you, or made you feel seen, please, by all means, like, follow, share, or send this to a friend. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe and hit that download button so you never miss an episode. Until next time, stay bold, stay real, and keep rising. I'm Ilene Carol, and this has been Unseen to Unstoppable.